Hi, welcome to the Russ and Vince Courtside Podcast. I'm your host, Vince. Before we go into the video, please hit that like and subscribe button down below if you enjoy our videos. Let's get right into it.
What's good, everybody? It is your host, Vince here, and your other host, Russ here. We are live, baby, here to talk about game 4 between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. Interesting game to say the least, but first and foremost, man, we got to give a shout out to the winning team here. We got the Pacers taking a 3-1 lead now over the Knicks, 130 to 121. Very high scoring game. Before we get into everything here, you guys, again, if you're new here, please feel free to check out some of our previous videos down below. And if you're not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Please hit a like if you do enjoy the video, and feel free to share to your friends as well. We will be going live throughout the playoffs. So if you guys happen to not be able to catch the game and want to know what was going on, we're going to be able to dive into a lot of the things like the box score, really kind of give you guys some perspective that we saw during the game, as well as what you can clearly see that led to the winning team winning and the losing team losing. But yeah, like I said, you guys go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Hit a like and share with your friends. All righty. Well, first and foremost, you guys, thank you for your patience. I know we have not been posting lately, haven't gone live lately, but it was Veterans Day or Memorial Day. There we go. Beg my pardon. And some of us had a vacation to take, and other of us had a mental vacation to take. And so we are back. We are ready to go. We're ready to have some fun. And at the end of the day, you guys, man, we're here to talk hoops. You got anything for the people you want to say, Russ, before we dive into this?
Yeah, man. It was a good long weekend to have with the family. Just trying to reset, enjoy ourselves, and just remember that this is life. We gotta enjoy it. Stop and smell the roses, a few times, and ready to get back to work. So this game, man, I'll let you go into it. What'd you see?
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's just actually combine really what we saw game 3, because we didn't get a chance to cover that, as well as this game. So let's just kind of go right into it before we go into this one. Game 3 was crazy, right? If you guys didn't get a chance to catch that, the Indiana Pacers went up by as much as I think 20 or 22 points. And for some reason, it seems like the only way the New York Knicks are really able to make it a series is to go down by 20 so that they can come back and basically just win the game. And that's exactly what we saw in game 3. Karl Anthony Towns led the way in the fourth quarter with 20 points, I think like 6 rebounds and some very timely stops. Definitely showed the reason why the Knicks believed in him to go get him in the offseason this past year. And the Knicks were able to come back from 20 to take game 3 and at least force a guaranteed game 5. Right. And so during that time, there was a lot of saying going on. Tyrese Halliburton, I don't know. I don't know if he's really a superstar. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But I mean, the way that I look at this situation, even though the Knicks did come away with that game 3, I still wasn't feeling very confident about the Knicks afterwards, because it took a lot just to get that. And on top of that, you're not talking about waiting 3 days before your next game. All of these games are basically the day after. So you only get 1 day full of rest, and then the other day you're getting right back into it. And with that being said, we clearly saw the results of it. This was definitely not a defensive game by the least. In fact, it was such a high scoring game for this that we ended up seeing Mr. Tyrese. What the hell? Burton getting his second career triple double. Let's go ahead and pull up this box score, you guys, because this was insane, man. When you look at what this guy's stat sheet is, I don't know, man. Some people, like I said, some people, they don't want to give him that superstar status. Other people, they, say, hey, he's a star, I guess. But he really showed up in this one, man. He had 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, 4 steals. Here's really something underrated: 0 turnovers. 0. And we're going to talk about those turnovers here in just a second, because one could argue
Or lack thereof.
Exactly. We're going to talk about how not only in this series, a lot of these turnover issues for the team that's losing is affecting the reason why they're losing, but it's also happening in the other series with OKC and Minneapolis, where we're seeing a lot of the same things. But when it comes to this play, man, the Pacers, phenomenal job. And like I said, you see Tyrese Haliburton leading the way with 30-point triple-double. Not to mention you're getting great contribution from Pascal Siakam. He's got 30 points, 5 rebounds, was a +9. And then, bro, I got to put mad respect for Aaron Nesmith. We saw he had a very scary ankle injury, potential tweak. He was questionable for game 4. He sucked it up and he played 32 minutes, and all of those 32 minutes were very impactful. This man's defense is something I don't understand where it was or where it came from. I don't know about you, Russ. I don't remember seeing this man's defense this good throughout the regular season. I don't know if that's a thing where they're just kind of waiting until the postseason gets here and then they unleash the dogs, because Aaron Nesmith, he's a dog, especially on that defensive end. Him being able to guard Brunson and then also be able to contribute the way that he has consistently on the offensive end with his scoring is amazing. And so to me, it's also allowed the Pacers, for certain players that haven't really gotten going in this series, like Aaron Nembhard in this case, who really struggled from the floor, going 1 for 9 and only had 3 points. It allows the Pacers to be able to absorb those poor games by having such great games led by their 2 best players, Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Haliburton, and again, timely stops and great contribution from Nesmith. So, Russ, what exactly did you see from this? I'd like to hear your perspective.
Well, I don't know if you said it or maybe I just missed it. I got 5 syllables for you. Benedict Mathurin. This man right here is the reason they won the. I don't want to say is the reason, but a normal game from him would have been a loss for the Pacers. We're talking about a guy who's. Am I reading this right? Or no, Vince, tell me this. Am I reading this right? 12 minutes for this man and he had 20 points? Is that what I'm seeing? 12 minutes?
Here's an even crazier stat. He, in 12 minutes, took 11 free throw shots. I didn't even know that was possible. How you play
Wait a second.
You have almost as many free throw attempts as you have minutes in a game. How does that happen? I just noticed that. I didn't even notice that during the game. What? What the hell?
Coach said, "Hey man, just be aggressive." Man said, "Say less, fam."
Say less. That's wild.
And you know what's funny is he was a -2.
That's why you can't always
in 12 minutes. In 12 minutes.
Hey, I can't even speak on that. I mean, if anything, maybe those were the times when Tyrese was out because he was +16 and again Aaron Nesmith was +20. Maybe those were the minutes where Haliburton was off and Benedict just kind of had to provide some level of scoring threat while they were waiting on Tyrese to come back, because Tyrese played 38 minutes, which was the most in the entire team, obviously. So I think maybe that's what it was. But regardless, 20 points off the bench in 12 minutes and then 11 free throw attempts. That is nuts. That's nutterballs.
That's crazy.
One thing this man likes to do for sure is score the ball. We do know that. Not much else you're going to get from him, but definitely he'll score the ball.
Other than that, just this game just felt very, I don't know, like I didn't ever feel like the Knicks were going to win it. I just kind of had this feeling that like the Pacers just kind of, set the pace, set the tone. And they continuously just it just felt like the Pacers never had to worry about this game. And it just felt like the Knicks this whole time was just playing catch up. But even though, I don't know, the game was close at times and obviously throughout the game, but I just still feel like, is it me or the Knicks Brunson-centric?
You want to expand on that?
It just feels like they rely on Brunson to do a lot of the work. Here, scroll down to the Knicks box score here. Let me take a look at this. Now, Karl Anthony Towns with 24 points, OG Anunoby with 22 points. They definitely contributed in the game, but to me, it just feels like, some of their points are kind of like gimmies, like, Brunson sets them up or another teammate sets them up. I mean, if you're down near the rim and you're close to 7 feet tall, I mean, like, what's your job? Ball in the basket, But to me, it just feels like Brunson's shots are always like self-generated, obviously, like being the point guard and all that kind of stuff. But it just feels like the Knicks are more Brunson-centric around him and just always, feeding off of Brunson and whatever he's doing. And whenever he's not creating or doing something to, put points on the board, then it feels like the game gets a little stagnant. Other than that, though, Jalen Brunson is an extremely great player. Because I think Vince, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Brunson get drafted by the Pacers, then get traded on draft night to the Mavericks, and then the Mavericks, they saw Brunson in game 1 of the playoffs, I think a couple years ago, blow up, and they're like, you know what? The next season, they're like, you know what, Brunson, don't have room on the team for you, because I think Brunson's quote when he got drafted to the Pacers, and that he never ended up playing for, obviously, his quote was like, "I think I can contribute to this team," or something, paraphrasing along the lines. And now we're all thinking back, like, dang, what a team this would be with the Pacers. But obviously, we wouldn't know how that'd play out with players on it now. But like I said, I don't know. What's your thoughts on the whole Jalen Brunson, centric kind of thing? Because it kind of feels like they're missing that second scorer who I just feel like can go out there and get you a basket. I don't know about Karl-Anthony Towns being so consistent. He's a great player. I just don't feel like he's consistent enough.
Yeah, man, that's a good point. Definitely just to piggyback off yours before I give my thought. Jalen Brunson, great player. Definitely deserved. First of all, let's give him a shout out. He made second team All NBA. Congratulations on, of course, that amazing accomplishment. Definitely deserved it. Had a great season. Led your team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Great job, Jalen Brunson. Now, when it comes to this team, yes, they have moments where they play a lot of hero ball, and I feel like hero ball is not necessarily what is needed to win a championship. Like even when you look at OKC, yeah, they have Shea Gilgeous, Alexander, who's the star offensive player for the most part, but OKC's team as a whole have so many different weapons that they can go to. Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, even you got people coming off the bench that contribute. Same thing kind of applies with even the Pacers, right? With the Knicks, it's almost like a lot of it is Jalen. If Jalen's not getting it, then it's Towns. If Towns not getting it, then you every now and then you'll get a little bit of OG, a little bit of Bridges. But in my humble opinion, I don't think the Knicks had really much of a problem scoring. If you're able to score 121 points, you're doing something good. I think clearly the issue with the Knicks here is the defense. I mean, where did the defense even go? Um, you can't give up 130 points on the road, especially. You gave up 43 points just in that first quarter alone. And I mean, from there, you kind of were on an uphill battle from that point on. I think there was only one. I mean, I don't really want to count the fourth quarter because the game was already done by then. But with the exception of the second quarter, you guys lost every single quarter by at least 6 points. That's not going to cut it. And so I don't know. I just think that as far as this team, like all year, this team took a backseat on the defensive end. We heard that they were going to be more improved on the offensive end after getting Cat. And I agree. Sometimes he can be inconsistent, but I will say these last 2 games, he's done really good. He actually had a double-double. He had 24 and 12. You do wish that you could see a little bit more out of him, at least on the defensive end, because 0 blocks and you're a 7-footer, that's not really doing much. It's almost kind of like, what are you doing out there? You got to get a little bit more on the defensive end. If you're Karl-Anthony Towns in this case, than just being a reliable player. You got to be liable on the defensive end as well. And I think that's the difference. Even though this was a high scoring game on both ends, the Pacers were able to get timely stops and great pressure throughout the entire game. And I feel like that's the point of this series, or at least the emphasis with the Pacers and how they've been able to really come on top with this lead is they literally outpace you to the point where by the time the end of the game comes up, you're either dog tired, you got no energy left on the defensive end, and now you get this kind of result where it's a high scoring game and there's not really much else that you're going to get. And so to me, I just think that the Knicks, they need to start playing better defense. And another thing, man, turnovers. Too many turnovers. Way too many turnovers. It's the same thing that's going on again in the OKC Timberwolves matchup. The team that typically wins the turnover battle is typically winning. When we look at this together, let me get my glasses so I can make sure I see this right. Thank you. Um, Turnovers 17-11. Then let's talk about those fast break points, which a lot of those were off turnovers. 9-22. You allow 22 easy baskets to be made by the Pacers just off of turnovers alone. Outside of that, everything else is pretty dead even. Points in the paint, fouls were dead even. But again, like not really much else you can say. And even the shot attempts were pretty dead even as well. The 3-point makes dead even as well. So I think in this case, you could argue that the Pacers won in the margins when it comes to just taking better care of the ball, getting timely stops, and capitalizing on those stops because they even got out offensive rebound and out rebound 44-33. Normally, if you're losing the rebound battle, you're not getting at least 6 more shots than the Knicks. They still got 6 more shots and they got out rebounded by 11. That's wild. So I think that really what we're seeing here, that is kind of the main thing that is causing, the Knicks to have these problems. But, at the end of the day, man, the Knicks, hey, I did say Pacers in 6. I know you said Knicks in 6. At this point, it's got to be Knicks in 7. I mean, if you're really a Knicks fan or if you're cheering for the Knicks at this point. But before we go into really that, I got to ask, man, because I don't know about you, if you've been keeping up with like all the other talking heads, ESPN especially. I don't know if you've been keeping up with what they've been talking and saying about our guy Tyrese Halliburton, right? And I say our guy not because, we're Pacer fans, but because we do actually admire what he's been doing in the postseason. And I feel like it doesn't get a lot of talk or play for some reason. And so there's this debate going on, superstar, right? They call a lot of these players superstars. And so to me, I need to understand, what do you consider a superstar? Because obviously we know what a mega star is, right? That's like a LeBron James, a Steph Curry, a Kevin Durant, somebody that's carried the league for at least a decade. A superstar to me is somebody who doesn't just performs in the regular season, but really steps it up and takes it to another level in the postseason. This is the Pacers' second back-to-back year now making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the way it's looking, Tyrese Halliburton's about to win his first Eastern Conference Finals MVP now that award is around. And so to me, I'm almost like, if he leads this Pacers team to the finals and say they do win the finals, which is looking more like it's going to be against OKC, obviously at this point. Is he superstar status now? Because he's still young. I think he's only 24. And if he gets his first championship, which will be the first in franchise history for the Pacers, that's one more championship than Luka Doncic. That's one more championship than Anthony Edwards. That's one more championship than a lot of these other great players that we hear about, these young superstar players. And that's one championship along with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So to me, I got to wonder what makes a superstar. And at this point, if he does win the championship, is he a superstar then? What's your take on Tyrese Halliburton? Do you think he's a superstar, or what do you think is missing in terms of the media that they're not seeing that we're seeing that we would say he's a legit superstar at this point?
Well, that's a good question, Vince. I was just looking it up here. Some notable examples. No, you're gonna have to ask more. A little bit here. All right, so you bring up a good point. I never thought about it that way of like mega stars. I've always just thought about it as superstars are the best ones. Stars are ones who are a tier below that. But what's crazy to me is that what I was reading up here is that some notable players who have led their teams to the conference finals but had never won a championship. Karl Malone, John Stockton, Mr. number 1 in assists all time, which I think is, I want to say like 15,000. Reggie Miller, and Charles Barkley. My question to you is, would you call any of those players superstars, megastars? That's what I want to know, Vince.
I mean,
Carmelo, John
honestly,
Stockton, Reggie Miller, Charles Barkley.
I don't know if I'd call them mega stars or superstars, but I definitely would say they were obviously stars. I mean, they were on the Dream Team Olympic team for the most part, from what I remember. And they are heavily, respected in the basketball sphere for what they did and contributed to the game during the 90s. I wouldn't consider them superstars, but I do think that when it comes to the superstar title, it is very much thrown very loosely today compared to back then. Back then, it was basically Michael Jordan and everybody else, right? That's from what we know. And so now we're in this new era where there's so much talent and it's all spread around that it's almost like it's easier for media, for example, to just go on and say, oh, yeah, this person, I like their game. So therefore, they're a superstar, right? Like we've heard a lot of that in this postseason with Anthony Edwards. And we're seeing even in real life time, Anthony Edwards is not exactly ready yet, very clearly, right? He's a great kid. He's a great young man in terms of, being able to play basketball. But there's another level that we see his capability of doing it. It's just he's not doing it. And you can't sit here and bark and talk of that mess when you're playing against the Lakers in round one, and then you go ahead and you beat the Warriors without Steph Curry, and then now you're facing a actual challenge, and now you're down 3-1, and you are taking time away from the press. You're not doing what you should be doing on the court, being aggressive. So
Wait. Hold
yeah.
up. Wait. I was wondering the same thing. You know how many times I had to refresh YouTube to see? I was like, Wolves post-game conference. I was like, where's that man talking that ish, like I'm like waiting for like Anthony Edwards to be like, the same, like keep that same energy, bro. Like, where's that,
Charisma.
knocked off him. Like I don't know. Is it me or is it like, who's the one? Is he not choosing to go on the podium, or is it not? Like to me, it's like if you're the star player, you're there, win or loss. And did he not have post-game conferences in one of those games or something? Because why? That's my question. I don't know, but forget it. My thing about the whole is Tyrese a superstar? If not, what is he? My definition of a superstar would be someone who has led their team, it just leads their team in, being a leader in, I wouldn't say just scoring, but just like, in scoring, rebounding, assisting. It doesn't have to lead them in all categories. It's just like has to be one of the top guys consistently. And that's the thing about a superstar is it's consistently. Are you consistently doing what you're doing to get your team to where they need to go? And if you're leading your team to a third conference finals, every so often. Heck, they call Joel Embiid. They call him a superstar, right? And correct me if I'm wrong too. Was that game against the Toronto Raptors? Wasn't that in the Eastern Conference Finals? That shot against Kawhi?
I think that was I don't know. I know they played the Bucks. I just can't remember if they played the Bucks before or after that.
Right.
I
okay.
I want to say it was the Eastern Conference Finals. I think you're
right.
What?
So I guess that kind of makes my point. I think you can be a superstar and not lead your team to an NBA Finals ever, and that's what we classify Joel Embiid. Do you think Joel Embiid is a superstar?
That's a good question. That's a good question because he has superstar talent, but again, he's not superstar consistent on the court, and that's the thing. You know what?
Consistency.
You could say the same for Anthony Davis. early on, he was hard to get on the court, right? But now that like we've seen him on the court, he's won a championship and he was very vital in that championship. Would you consider Anthony Davis a superstar? I mean, I'm sure
That's the thing
Nico
is
Harrison would
with,
say he's a superstar.
right. And the thing is, we can't go back and say, well, we can't go back and say because, well, what if that 2020 championship wasn't there? Then Anthony Davis would have never made it past like the second round of the NBA playoffs. I mean, sure, we could play what ifs all day, but what has happened, and that is it. Anthony Davis, though, previous to the Lakers, has shown us that he was the leader of the Pelicans. He led that team and has played really well. I would say since he became a Lakers player, that's definitely like put under a microscope that all your issues, like being healthy, being on the court, playing. There's one thing that you can't judge Anthony Davis for, and that is giving it his best shot. Honestly, I mean that's my opinion. I mean the dude tries out there. Whether he can do some things like he can't control whether he stays on the court or not. But I think these last couple of seasons showed you that Anthony Davis, even when like slightly bruised or injured, he tries to play on the court. Even it just is what it is. But this game with the Pacers, it just kind of goes to show you that it's recency bias. Recency bias shows us that right now Tyrese Haliburton is showing us that he is a superstar. That's what we're going to label him as because that's what he's showing us. Next year, if they don't make it past the first round, are you still calling him a superstar?
But, I mean, I would. I mean, I've seen plenty of people who've made it to, like, just look at the stat for the team, right? The last 7 years, we have not only had a non-repeat champion, but no repeat champions even made it past the second round. Do we still call Jokic a superstar? Do we still call Giannis a superstar? Do we still call Steph Curry a superstar?
We do. We do because it's not about what they've done most recently. It's what they have shown us over the course of time. And exactly. Tyrese Haliburton is, I mean, I can't tell you his exact age, but he's under 30. I imagine, right? Oh, he's under 30.
Yeah, he's in his early mid-20s. I think.
Okay.
I think he's like 24. I know he's younger than us.
If anyone knows right, for real. If anyone knows Andre Ingram, the 32-year-old Lakers player who
oh my gosh
hopped on the court, man does not look 32. Looks like he's in his 50s. You never know in the NBA. But yeah. I mean, it just like I'm saying, you can't judge what's just happened just now and take away someone's superstar status because it's like that one quote that Giannis gave. Is this season a failure? I mean, like just because they didn't make it this year doesn't mean that they're not a champion. Doesn't mean you can't take away what's happened before. It's just sometimes it's not your year. But
true. Very true. And for those who are still tuned in, you guys, definitely appreciate you for checking us out. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. If you do enjoy the video, hit the like, share with your friends. We are going to go live throughout the entire playoffs. We've been kind of slacking a little bit with the Memorial Day, weekend and whatnot, taking a vacation, a little mental break, but we are going to be doing these lives pretty frequently, or at least videos being posted every day. So definitely let us know what your thoughts and opinions are. And, like I said, with this topic, you guys, Tyrese Haliburton superstar, that's been a topic that's been going on for the last week, I want to say now. You let us know down in the comment section below. Do you think he is a superstar? And if not, what do you think he is? Do you think, who would you consider a superstar? Who would you not? Please let us know, because at this point, I'm so tired of showing up and seeing ESPN and seeing how they're talking about, oh, this person's a superstar. And then they come down short and they're so quick to be like, oh, yeah, he don't got it. So to me, I need to define superstar at this point. Y'all let us know in the comment section down below what is a superstar, because I don't know. But what I want to ask you real quick, Russ, and I know, again, for those who didn't get a chance to tune into some of our previous predictions for this series, one of us predicted Pacers in 6. Another one of us predicted Knicks in 6. So y'all let me know. I want to know right now, Russ, do you think the Knicks are more likely to force a game 7, right? That means they got to win at least the next two and force a game 7. Or do you think we're more than likely going to see a gentleman's sweep in 5? What do you think is more realistic?
Hold on, Vince. Don't let me pull the tapes out. Don't tell me you weren't rooting for the Knicks before this series. Were you really? I need to go back and look at the tapes. Were you a Pacers all the way?
I was a Pacer all the way. Don't you dare disrespect me like that, my guy. I've been Pacers this whole way. First and foremost, I will always and forever be a Laker fan. But because the Lakers are gone, I don't want to see anybody in the West win the championship. So if I got to pick an East team, I went with the Knicks versus the Celtics because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But now that we're getting real, I have been following the Pacers throughout the entire playoffs. I thought it was amazing what they did against the Bucks. Yes, you could say the injuries, with Dame kind of, all right. I thought they did great in their second round matchup against the Cavs. Yeah, there was injuries too, but again, they still commanded the lead throughout the way, and they played big time. And then you look again at the Knicks. Arguably, they should have already closed the series today. Had they not just thrown away game 3 after going up by 20, they could have literally just swept the Knicks today. So, in my humble opinion, I think we're close to seeing a gentleman's sweep. I don't think it's likely the Knicks are going to force a game 7. I don't want to hear about Knicks and 7, Knicks and 7. I think that what you had said, and if it's not already posted, we're going to post it, but the short, you talked about we might need to pump our brakes on the lingos because there's a lingo curse going on. We heard Lakers in 5, right? What else have we heard before? I'm trying to remember.
Lakers in 5. That's a good question. We had Lakers in 5. Oh, it was a previous season. We had a different team. But either way, yeah, no, it's
Lakers almost like any team that's got that lingo, it's a curse, man. Knicks in 6, it sounded great, but it's a curse. Y'all going home, man. Y'all going home.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Wait. It was Suns in 4 back in 2021.
That's right. Yep.
That's right,
Suns
yeah.
In 4 guy. Yep.
I'm just saying,
lingos don't work.
What are the stats for the lingo teams? Has there ever actually been a team that's won when the whole lingo throughout the playoffs was Celtics in 5 or Lakers in 6 or whatever it is, whatever the lingo is? I just want to know which teams have actually won the championship, because I don't know how many times that this has actually been a thing, but so far it's not working out for those teams. But gentleman sweep in 5 is more likely than not. I'm picking with my hearts in these series, and I was hoping the Knicks would win because I really was hoping that Tyrese Halliburton was gonna, choke himself in this series, and then it'd come back to haunt him. And then he's a good guy. He's a good guy. I wanted those overrated comments to be true because,
oh man,
I wanted them to be true because I want the Knicks to win. But the guy's good. He does everything he's supposed to. He's a good guy. Can't fault him. Worst part about Tyrese is his dad. This playoffs.
Hey man, you better put some respect on my light-skinned twin now, okay? You better put some respect on my light-skinned twin. Tyrese Halliburton is not overrated at all.
No, he's not.
He's not overrated. Is he a superstar? That's another topic. But he's definitely not overrated. I think that the league is in great hands. How there's also a lot of talk where it was kind of like when LeBron leaves, when Steph leaves, when KD leaves, like who's going to be the next face of the league? Is it Anthony Edwards? Is it Luka Doncic? Is it Shai Gilgeous? Like there's so much talent spread right now. Most of it obviously being overwhelmingly in the West. But as weird as it sounds, the playoffs in the East have been far more exciting than the West, I would say. But yet we still have emerging teams that are going to come up. Look at what the Rockets did, right? Even though they got bounced in the first round, they're a young team. They got Amin Thompson that I think made an all NBA defensive team. I know for sure. And he's still developing his offensive game. You got obviously the Warriors. They got Jimmy Butler, and who knows what they do in their offseason. The Warriors always seem to figure out a way to make the postseason and make a run as well. Then you got again, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, who knows what they're going to do after making back-to-back Western Conference Finals and essentially losing both. And I think last year they lost in 5 to the to the Mavs too, if I'm not mistaken. So if they lose tomorrow, I mean, I don't know, but we're gonna talk about that, do a video on that as well. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think the Knicks, they're definitely closer to getting gentlemen swept. I'm gonna give them the courtesy though, saying they're not gonna lose in the Garden, or I said the Garden. They're not gonna lose in the Mecca. Okay, to me,
It is the Garden though.
it is, but I feel like it's kind of weird because when I hear Garden, I think of Boston Garden, and I can't stand
Right,
Boston.
right.
I just can't. But at the same time, man, I just think that I'm gonna give at least the Knicks the respect because they have actually put a good deal of effort and fight in this series, even though arguably they've been outclassed, right? Like I just think that they need more. They need more defense, clearly, right? They traded a lot of that stuff to get Carl Anthony Towns to get that boost offensively. But defensively, we already hear the term. Defense wins championships. And it's not necessarily like just keeping a team scoring low defense. We're talking about timely defense. We're talking about team defense, which we're seeing a lot from OKC. We're going to talk about that here in a second as well, or at least a video about that. But yeah, I definitely think that that's it. So with that being said, let's talk about it to finish this out. Predictions for game 5 in New York. If we got any New York fans watching this, I just want to tell you guys, man, I feel for you. It's been 60 plus years since you've ever sniffed at a championship or at least won a championship. You did sniff at a championship, I believe in 2000, right? Or something like that. It's been a long time, right? You're talking about 2 or 3 generations of people not knowing what it's like to win a championship in New York. Meanwhile, as Laker fans, we're good. We win at least one championship every decade. So I gotta know, man. I just gotta let y'all know, New Yorkers, man, it's not the end. Seeing what the Celtics are going through right now, y'all can make another Eastern Conference Finals. The
Hey,
Pacers, I
Vince,
mean, what's up?
Vince, do you hear that?
I
Do
think
you
I
hear
do.
anything?
Hold on, I think I do. What?
No,
Was
you
it?
sure? Because I don't hear anything. It's just like the
Huh.
New York fans, man. I don't hear nothing.
Right. That's weird. I don't. You know what? Let me check my phone real quick.
Yeah, I've
Do I
been
see a
checking
do I see,
because
do I see a Knicks and 7 video coming up? Let me check Twitter.
no, they're quiet, man. They're real quiet. I mean, hey, I know
Hold
New
on.
York was my
Let me check
pick.
Instagram. I've been seeing a lot of noise on Instagram. Let me see. No, nothing. That's weird. It's almost like when they lose, they're quiet, but as soon as they get one win, they're loud.
Yeah, but not even after this one win that they got, they weren't saying nothing, dude. They were talking all kinds of smack against Boston. I know they won the first 2 games, so I probably would be too, but they were
Oh,
loud.
no. Wait, nah.
They
I'm
were
gonna
loud.
keep it stacked. I was here for that. I was here for that. I was actually enticing and encouraging that. Okay. I'm a petty person. When I don't like you, best believe when I find somebody who else is an enemy of you, I'm going to be right there just observing. And as soon as I see that they are talking their mess and they are dogging you, I'm all on board. Every time I saw a video of the Knicks just making fun of the Celtics, or I saw a video of this like a Celtic. I think there's like this girl, this Caucasian girl. I don't know her name, but she was obviously a Celtics fan wearing her jersey, and she was like basically doing, I think, like a video of game 1 and game 2, and just basically them losing after going up by 20. And it brought great happy tears to me. So I'm not gonna say anything about that. Listen, if y'all are going against the Celtics, really, if any team is going against the Celtics, I'm your number 1 fan. But I'm also subjective. And when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, when it comes to the matchups, I actually pay close attention. And that's why I'm telling you, man, I may not be 100% of the time, but when it comes to certain styles and certain ways that certain teams play, I think I know enough to at least suggest who's going to win or what the outcome's going to be. And that's why I felt confident before the series started. It was going to be Pacers in 6, more so than it was going to be Knicks in 6 or anything like that, because I just felt like if the Pacers got at least 1 game in New York, it's a wrap. And the fact that they got 2 games in New York, and then they really should have again got game 3, arguably, if it wasn't for the fact that they kind of just walked the ball down, and they didn't really play full 48 minutes of what they normally do. We saw, obviously, they did that today because there was a moment where the Knicks were actually coming back as well, right? But this time, instead of just kind of slowing the pace down, they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and overwhelming them on both sides of the ball. And now you get the result that you get. Where now, if you're in a shootout, right, that's exactly what the Pacers want. They want a shootout. They want to be able to have a back and forth, type of situation, because at the end of the day, if you're running with the Pacers, they're going to outrun you and outscore you, right? And so the Knicks, they're not equipped for that. The Knicks have to slow the pace down. That's how they won game one. They slowed the pace down when it mattered the most in the fourth quarter. But now it's one of those situations where basically, again, you don't take care of the other end of the basket, you're not going to do much. And again, I have to put a lot of that responsibility on your second best player, which again is Karl Anthony Towns. There's no way you can be
Which
7-footer and not contribute on the other end, at least be somewhat of a defender around the rim. You can't just give it all to Mitchell Robinson and just expect him to just literally do everything. You got to do more on that side. What's up?
is what's Cat's is he hurt? Is he hurt? He was looking pretty banged up there at the end, like kind of looking like an ACL. But what's funny is that I feel bad for those situations in the games, because from that play, I don't know if you saw it when he hurt his knee at the end. I think it was Miles Turner pushing Cat into Brunson. Oh, sorry, not Brunson. Into Tyrese. I don't know who had the ball. I think it was Tyrese, but I know Miles Turner was the one who
No, I think it was Benedict. It was Benedict.
Okay, I think you're right, actually. So Miles Turner, I think pushed Cat. I'm not sure if Cat was up in the air or not, but pushed him into the guy who had the ball, because they originally called the foul on Cat. I think they overturned it because Miles Turner. Yeah, they did, because it was a challenge. Yeah, but Cat ended up hurting his knee on that play because he got pushed from the back. At least that's from what it looked like. But he looked like he was bent over, holding his knee for a while and on the ground. And then after a while, you'd see him hobbling. And on the free throw line at the other end of the court, he was bent over, holding his knee. I mean, you think that affects him for Game 5? Because if that's the case, I mean, that's kind of the next season right there. Don't you say?
I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. The second you guys had a matchup against the Pacers, it was already over. It was already over. Again, they say often styles make fights, and this is not a matchup. Like, we saw it as a Laker fan, right? Styles make fights. We arguably could have gone further had we not been matched up against a bigger team that's more athletic than us. If we had a matchup against, say, the Warriors, a matchup against the Rockets, we could have at least made it to round 2, but what good is that? And to me, styles make fights. And the moment that the Pacers and the Knicks had to match up, especially in the Eastern Conference Finals, I already knew what it was going to happen. I know that easily people could have said, oh, well, last year when the Pacers beat the Knicks, it's because the Knicks were banged up, they were hurt, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Me personally, I just think that the Pacers were going to win regardless. It did obviously help them, but shoot, look at the Celtics. Everybody was so quick to talk about how great the Celtics were, when really the Celtics had the easiest path to the finals last year. They literally went through all these injured teams to just make it to the finals, where they again played a very injured team in the Mavs. And they also played against, when they played the Mavs, they played against a Kyrie Irving that was a shell of himself for some reason. Luka Doncic still did his thing offensively, but we know his struggles on the defensive end. And then everybody else on the team, like PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford and all these other players that were supposed to contribute at that time, they didn't show up. And that just goes to show that you have to have more for your team to actually not just go far and deep, but to actually win a championship and a title. Because the Celtics, they won not because of 1, 2, 3 people. They had literally multiple weapons that they could go to. You had KP, who was obviously more available at the time. He was able to get great stops on the defensive end, stopping the paint, and get timely threes. Then you had obviously JT, who was the main person that they go to for the offense, doing his thing. You got Jaylen Brown doing his thing. Then you got Drew Holiday doing his thing, and Derek White. You had arguably the best starting five, is what they called it. Now you fast forward a whole season later, you got injuries that start coming up, because that's another thing people don't realize. When you make a deep run in the finals, especially with this past offseason being the Olympics, and a lot of your starting players or your star players, they go to the Olympics, you have no offseason. Next thing you know, now you're dealing with injuries, and injuries are going to pop up. And
No,
again,
no, no. JT didn't play, bro. He didn't play. Steve Kerr didn't think he was good enough, bro. He
shout out
he,
Steve
he got
Kerr.
hurt because he was on the bench, man. No,
Hey,
but
man. Hey, all I know is at the end of the day, this is not a matchup for the Knicks. It just isn't, and you clearly see there's holes. And like we talked about earlier in the video, if you guys didn't get a chance to catch it, we kind of dove a little bit more into the box score. I'm going to pull it up right here. A lot of the stuff that we were seeing for this game, it just had to, like, in terms of what determined this game, I mean, a lot of it was turnovers. And again, like, capitalizing on those turnovers. We got 9 fast break points to the Knicks, 22 to the Pacers. You got 17 turnovers for the Knicks, 11 turnovers for the Pacers. But the biggest story for this game overall was, although you had great contribution from Jaylen Brown, I said Jaylen Brown, from Jalen Brunson, beg my pardon, and you also had great play from Karl Anthony Towns, who did at least give you a double-double. I mean,
okay,
defensively, they weren't doing
yeah.
much. And then you had
Look at the Indiana Pacers though. Tyrese Halliburton had the 15 assists. That's the same as the rest of his own team combined in assists. That's crazy to me.
That is insane. That's insane.
And the fact that he did it with zero. I think I saw in the game at the end it said that he was the first player ever to have 0 turnovers with like a 30, 10 and 15 or 30, 15 and 10. He's the second player ever to do it with 0 turnovers with that stat line, I think, in general, but the first time in the playoffs, which is just crazy to me to think about all the players, the games that have been played over the course of 70, what is it, 77, 78 years now. It's wild to think about. I mean, it's just how many games have been played, and yet that's never happened before. All right, that's it. Superstar status. Here it is.
There it is. That's my point. See, here's the thing. Since we're talking about this, right? Tyrese is not one of those guys that the media clearly respects enough to give him that label, because he's not out there, right? He doesn't got multiple baby mamas. He's not dark skinned. He's not brash in terms of his confidence, like an Anthony Edwards. He's not, Mr. Good looking or whatever, I guess you could look at in terms of, marketability, right? He's in a small market in Indiana, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to put respect on this guy, man. He is having a legendary postseason. I mean, we already talked about before even this series began how clutch he is. And we had to ask ourselves, how clutch, who was really going to be most clutch? Was it going to be Jalen Brunson, or was it going to be Tyrese Halliburton? And I think it's very clear at this point, for the most part, who's been winning that battle, and is Tyrese Halliburton. And so to me, if you're going to say Jalen Brunson is close to being a superstar, at this point, Tyrese Halliburton for sure needs to be in that topic. But that is really all that we're going to have for today's show. Again, for the Pacers and the Knicks, game 4, loss for the Knicks, win for the Pacers, 130 to 121, led by, again, Mr. Tyrese Halliburton's 30-point triple-double. If you guys, like I said, are just now tuned in, please hit that subscribe button down below. We're going to be going live right after the game, probably about 30 minutes or so, before, a little bit after. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Turn your notifications on as well, so as soon as we are live, you'll be notified. And, of course, if you enjoy the videos, hit a like down below. Share with your friends if they are basketball, lovers, talkers, things of that nature. And, of course, we appreciate your support. Russ, go ahead and say last things you got to say, and then we'll go ahead and end it.
All right, I got you. As my boy David Fizdale once said, take that for data.
That's it. Y'all take care, man.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Russ and Vince Courtside Podcast, where we bring you the hottest NBA moments, discussions, and everything in between. If you like today's show, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a Courtside Podcast again.